Angry, loud, vicious, chaotic, anarchy. These are all words that I think of when I think of the punk rock scene in the late 1970s. These bands were full of youths who were tired of their traditional ways. Get a job? Why would I get a job when I don't want to work or do something that, I don't find fitting for me? Follow the rules. Some of these rules are stupid. Why would I want to follow them? Believe in God. Who says that I need to do that? These questions were all asked by punk rockers during this time period. Most people saw punk rockers as people who just clashed and banged instruments in hopes of making it sound good. But this next album is a testimony that punk rock can sound pretty damn good. This week on Forever Spinning, we crank up the volume to feel the punk and never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols by the Sex Pistols. Let's get right into it. God save the Queen, the fascist regime. Never Mind the Bollocks was released on October 28, 1977 under Virgin Records. This is the Sex Pistols' only studio album, as they broke up after their tour for this album in 1978. This album is the definition of punk rock. Loud, raw guitar riffs with intense, emotionally driven lyrics, all put together with an anti-government theme. Not only did the Sex Pistols make one of the best punk rock albums of all time, but they also lived the role. They were role models for punks. Before we talk about the impact these rebels had, let's look at the tracks themselves. Holidays in the Sun starts this album out on an explosive note. The buildup of clapping just to break out the heavy guitar riffs is legendary itself. Holidays in the Sun also brings up a very controversial topic at the time, the Berlin Wall. With lyrics like, I gotta go over the Berlin Wall, I don't understand it, Berlin Wall, calls to mind the political restlessness in Berlin at the time. The second track on the album, Bodies, has a rather interesting story behind it. The opening lines of the song are, she was a girl in Birmingham, she just had an abortion, she was a case of insanity, her name was Pauline, she lived in a tree. You're probably thinking, what the hell is this about? Well, this is a true story. Johnny Lydon, aka Johnny Rotten, the lead singer of the Sex Pistols, reminisces saying, Pauline was a girl who used to send these letters to me from some nut house up north in Birmingham. She was in a mental asylum. She turned up at my door once wearing a see-through plastic bag. She did the rounds in London and ended up at everyone's door. She had a very curious way of finding out where people lived. Like most insane people, she was very promiscuous. The fetus thing is what got me. She'd tell me about getting pregnant with the male nurses at the asylum or whatever. There's a line in the song about Pauline living in a tree. She actually had a tree house on the estate of the nut house. The nurses couldn't get her down and she'd be up there for days. Apparently, punk rock pulled her out of her cocoon. She didn't seem to have a problem either. One of the many lunatics that used to attach themselves to us. No Feelings is John Lydon's way of explaining to the world that he is in love with himself. He uses lyrics saying that he has no feelings except for myself, my beautiful self. I got no emotion for anybody else. You better understand I'm in love with myself, my beautiful self. Liar can be interpreted in many different ways. First, you can look at it as a way for the band to explain that they hate liars, but you can also look at it with an anti-government mentality that this album seems to have and explain that they hate politicians because of their constant lies. Where do I even begin with God Save the Queen? This song is chock full of political angst and anger. The title of the song itself is a cynical cover of the British anthem, God Save the Queen, or King. John Lydon says, you don't write a song like God Save the Queen because you hate the English race. You write a song like that because you love them, and you're fed up with seeing them mistreated. Next up is Problems. This song talks about how everyone has their own problems, and if we can't get over the fact that some of these problems will never be resolved, we're never going to get anything done. Without pushing these problems aside, there's nothing that's ever going to be accomplished. So many problems, so why am I here? I need to be seventh track on this album is called 17. 17 is about the classic punk attitude of not caring about anything and being super lazy. This song is almost a wake-up call and makes the listener realize that they need to get their life together because it won't last like this forever. Anarchy in the UK. This is what the album is all about. With opening lines of "I'm an antichrist, I'm an anarchist," you know this track is about to get in some heavy stuff. This song is the epitome of what this album stands for. Absolute anarchy. Malcolm McLaren wrote the title of the song Submission, hoping that the band would talk about controversial sexual acts at the time. The band did not like McLaren, as they accused him of often not paying them for their live performances. The band then wrote the song about a submarine mission just to piss him off. Pretty Vacant covers the stereotype that all punk rockers are stupid. The chorus of the song repeats the lyrics, "Oh, we're so pretty, oh so pretty, we're vacant," to mock those who created this stereotype of punk rockers. This song then went on to be the voice of a punk rock generation as a way of mocking those who believed to be above punk rockers. The song New York revolves around the idea that punk rock was created in New York City when the band The New York Dolls was accredited with being the first punk rock band. This song was made to piss off the New York scene and show the world that Britain's punk scene was alive and thriving and were the furthest things from ripoffs. The record's final song, EMI, is titled after the name of the band's first record label. This song is all about the evils of capitalism and calls out EMI for only being concerned with the band because of their potential to be famous.
It's an unlimited supply, and there is no reason why. I tell you it was all a frame. They only did it because of fame. Who? EMI.
Well, that wraps up the tracks from Nevermind the Bollocks. The Sex Pistols would go down as one of the most interesting bands in rock history. With only one studio album, they still created a new brand of culture. Their extreme live shows are considered to be the most intense shows ever. Their tour was unlike any other, with acts like Sid Vicious, the band's bassist, cutting himself on stage and smearing blood all over the crowd. The band's quick demise, from extreme fame to breaking up, to Sid Vicious killing his girlfriend and later dying from a heroin overdose, is absolutely legendary. The Sex Pistols were, and always will be, punk rock. And this album is just a small bit of their enormous legacy. Well, that does it for another episode of Forever Spinning. Next week, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the album that put Bon Iver on the map. For Emma, forever ago. Until then, make sure to subscribe and to always keep it spinning. Long live physical media.